What is going on, everybody? In this video, I'm gonna be kind of covering two different things, one of which is reviewing the Strength Co weight plates, some new plates I picked up. These are, if not in my opinion, some of the best weight plates you can possibly buy for iron weight plates. But then along with that, I'm gonna compare this top quality weight plate to some of the cheapest weight plates you can buy on Amazon. These are all things I picked up within a span of like the last 3 years. I'll break down the build quality, the practical use of various weight plates, the price difference and what you're really paying for, and kind of my overall thoughts and recommendations from owning some of, if not the cheapest weight plates you can possibly buy to what, again, I would consider one of the best weight plates you can possibly purchase. Now, this is of course my opinion. I certainly want to hear what you guys have to say about it, because odds are you guys have been faced with a similar situation, going cheap or going expensive, or you will probably be faced with this thing in the near future, in which case you might be watching this video for this reason. Now, aside from these weight plates, which I will link down below, there's gonna be a bunch of other equipment featured in this video. Greatly appreciated, helps me out immensely if you guys do consider picking up any of these things, to click on one of those links below and help support me and the channel. And for full disclosure, guys, all the weights you guys are seeing in this video, I personally paid for. None of these things were sent to me for free. So I just want to put that out there. I'm gonna give you guys my unbiased opinion on the matter. Now, really quick, guys, just for some background context, even though I professionally work and coach around using traditional free weights and weight plates and barbells on this channel, it's been really over 3 years since I personally have done like a full-fledged weight training workout until really recently. So this whole channel has really been dedicated to, as a giant experiment, seeing what was possible in the home gym without traditional free weights. Flash forward to where I am now, guys. I mentioned in previous videos, I want to get back to my old traditional barbell weights that I was kind of working out with, just for as like a personal experiment. And I mentioned even in a recent video, even after like only 2 workouts, I was surprised how quickly that strength came back on some of those barbell lifts. But I'm still weak in certain areas. You guys are going to see me messing around with some lifts. Really just kind of finding a groove, just kind of getting into certain kind of range of motion type stuff. So that was kind of my motivation of where I need to pick up some more weights. That, and also I got this new lever gym toy, also needed some extra weights to kind of help load that up. Now, I consider myself a practical guy. I do not need super high-end expensive stuff like some of you garage gym nerds. No offense to you guys are awesome, but I do not need a specialized barbell for every other lift that I'm doing. Nor do I really care if some of these weight plates are off by certain minuscule amounts, because I know at the end of the day, like many of you guys do as well, that it doesn't really matter if you guys got cheap or expensive equipment. What really counts is the full effort you're putting into whatever you have. Now, why I went the route, as you guys can see here, these are still pretty much the cheapest weights you guys can buy on Amazon. Why I went this route initially, I've shared in my channel before that in the past, I bought and sold tons of different weight plates from various homes I was in. And I realized in the past, at least I thought I was not gonna be working out in the home, so I wasn't gonna buy expensive weight plates ever again. So then when 2020 hit and all the gyms were shut down, you didn't have limited stuff, I, again, like many of you guys, scrambled to get some weights for some loose ends. And I thought, I'm not gonna go super expensive, because odds are I might end up selling these down the road anyways. Also, weight at that time was very expensive. So even though these were cheap, at the time, like this one, I think one of these was like $65, $70. These are now like $55. They were still somewhat affordable, but still somewhat expensive to what the prices used to be. And odds are, if you guys are looking cheap on Amazon, certainly there's also the Cap brand, which I've actually purchased those a long time ago as well in my home gym. I maybe can mention that. But if you're looking for like the cheapest of the cheap, you're probably looking at something like this. There's a couple different companies. There's like Sporzon, Hulk Fit. They all definitely come from the same overseas factory in China. These really cheap cast iron weight plates. So I got these, I got a 25 and a 45. I also have 1-inch diameter plates I was using for other things like in my total gym to load that up. You're also looking, if you're looking at bumper plates. Bumper plates, obviously you can use for like Olympic lifting, and I was doing those things like cleans and snatches way back when. I actually had some high temps a long time ago. So I thought, okay, I might end up using the bumper plates, but even if you're not gonna use them for Olympic lifting, some of you guys know they tend to be a little more affordable. They're also just kind of not as prone to get rusty or as dinged up as easily. So some people go this route. They're certainly a little bit thicker, a little harder to kind of manage. These cheaper weight plates, people have commented and I've seen them, people like them just because they have little grips and handles. But of course you have different ridges, and the big problem, which I'll get into as far as like the cons with weight plates, is that they're very inconsistent. The different finishes are going to be different. You can see that on some of these models. I don't know if you can see with the lighting, but the coloration is kind of different. The weight can be off, even though I said I don't care too much about that. Sometimes they can be, off by a lot as far as how much they actually weigh. But I have heard in recent years some of these things aren't as bad as they used to be with that. But you might get like chipping, premature rusting. And some of those things initially aren't so bad out of the box, because if they are looking really bad, or even the molding, you'll see there's some holes even in mine. If they are super bad, you certainly can just return them on Amazon. That's the beauty of that. But the downside is some of these long-term damage that you might see, like on like premature rusting and chipping, or just cracking really easily, that's something you won't see until a little bit later. And honestly, as you guys can maybe see up close, functionally, yeah, they're still, it's weight is weight. But if you look up close with these, I've only had these for about, some of these only maybe a little over close to 2 years. And they got a decent amount of chipping and decent amount of rusting for not getting a whole lot of heavy use. I was in the basement of my house for a little bit, so granted, there's not a whole lot of temperature differences down there, but since going out in the garage, again, not being used honestly that much, they've prematurely worn and rusted and chipped fairly easy compared to, I'd say, the average weight plate you can get, or a decent weight plate you could purchase. Of course, the most obvious pro, and the one reason why you guys are probably looking at these, is because they are definitely cheap. Sometimes, and oftentimes, they can be half price of what you would pay for something that's like a high quality weight plate, which I'll get to in a second, from the Strength Company, or again, something like Rogue. So that was the rationale for my cheap weights, and I'm only sharing this because I think this might be pertinent to a lot of you guys, your initial motivation, that might help you guys make the right purchase. But when it comes down to why did I opt to pay a lot more money for a much more higher quality weight plate, such as the Strength Company, even specifically, why did I go with them with, say, Rogue, which was like really the close second? That's what I'll get into right here. First and foremost, it's been close to 4 years since I've been working out at home, so I know I'm gonna be pretty much staying here. I'm not having any plans anytime soon to go back to the gym. So I knew that as far as the investment I'm gonna put into it, it's gonna have that return on it, and I want something that's gonna be somewhat high quality and is gonna last. I also mentioned, like I said up front, I want to get back into those traditional strength lifts, getting them back up to where I used to be, handling things like 315 for reps on squats, doing, again, 405 deadlift, which you'll see I only got 645. So Grant, if you're listening, I need to get another pair of these, but hook me up, brother. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm probably need to buy more of these, honestly. But like you guys, it was a heavy initial price tag to drop this much amount of money for the set that I got. So you guys can see I got 6 45s, I got a pair of 25s, only because I got these 25s. Might have said I didn't necessarily need them, but I wanted the weight to be somewhat uniform. I didn't have a pair of 10s, believe it or not. And so that was a big thing too, is just uniformity. Even if I'm gonna start going back to that kind of doing those types of strength lifts, even though, like I said, I'm not that anal about how close the weights are, when you get a high quality weight plate like this, granted it's not gonna be like a calibrated weight plate like those really super expensive ones, you're still gonna be pretty close. And again, I wanted something that's be fairly uniform. When you get some of these weight plates, as you guys can see in the reviews, aside from just aesthetically being off a little bit, the weights can be off a little bit as well. So I wanted something that's fairly uniform. Also, it looked really clean in the bar. So again, like I hate to have, you know, 315, then put a pair of 25s on. It just looks kind of odd. So I wanted something that looked a little bit more cleaner. Also that fit nice and tight, which I'll get into. The Strength Company sets, their weights fit really nice and tight. Aesthetically also, if I'm gonna drop this much amount of money, I want something that kind of looks kind of cool. So weight plates are definitely kind of a foundational item in the home gym. So this is one of those things that aesthetically, I just really liked the look of the Strength Company. I liked the Rogue plates as well, but they were just much thicker. And when you kind of load these things onto a bar, this kind of just brought me back to kind of that old school nostalgic feel of classic iron weight plates. When I was growing up going to the gym, this was kind of like your standard run of the mill plate of what they looked like. And I kind of got used to that. Nowadays, a lot of gyms don't necessarily always carry these things, but those old school weights back in the day, especially in those gyms I used to go to, they're very good high quality. They stood the test of time. They weren't necessarily, even though they were dinged up and chipped a little bit, they still were good high quality. They weren't prematurely rusted or anything like that. Also, there's just something to be said about just that nice, sweet noise that these type of old school diameter plates just kind of make, or just good iron plates kind of sound like. So just putting the weights on the bar, doing some reps. Granted, yeah, if you don't have pins on, I gotta get some extra pins actually. These actually fit really tight. That's one great thing about the Strength Company, is that it's a really tight mold here, so it really purposely has a snug fit on the bar. So it's not gonna move around too much on you, but just that little slight kind of clanging of the noise, also for whatever it's worth, just sounds really cool. But for sure, what's much more important, other than like the sound the weights make, I don't think you guys really are investing in that, is just the quality and durability of the plates. So like I said at the start, you guys can see these plates are not that old. They've rusted, they've chipped. People can say, yeah, I mean, if they're rust, it's not really that big a deal, but I just don't necessarily like that, especially something that's gonna last for a period of time. And I know I'm in the garage now. Before I was in the basement. Now I'm pretty much convinced I'll be staying in this garage or a garage for a period of time. There's a lot of weather fluctuations in here. In the winter, it gets super cold. In the summer, it can get super hot. So just the overall quality and design of these things as far as withstanding the elements. So I really did just want something that could really withstand the elements and also withstand a potential beating throughout the ears that I can hopefully hand down to my kids as well. I did really like how Strength Company is a small company, but with that being said, they have a high attention to detail. If you guys go on their website, similar to Rogue, but I say more so if you look at Strength Company's background and all the effort they put into making a high quality plate, you can see they really put a lot of effort into making the best quality product possible. I've had a little bit of discussions with Grant. I'm hopefully having an interview with him. He's a starting strength coach. I've been to starting strength seminars, have a lot of respect for that reputation. And all I would say is that based on his background, his passion for his company, you can tell he's really trying to make the best quality product possible. So at the end of the day, all those things kind of considered, that's why I went ahead and pulled the trigger on the Strength Company versus say Rogue. You guys are seeing the unboxing here. They came in individual boxes. They came really fresh, crisp. Packaging and shipping was great. When I opened out of the box, I really didn't expect anything less based on the great reputation that they have. I thought they would look and feel great, and they certainly did. There was some minor little chipping here on 2 of the plates, which maybe you guys will see in this video. But overall, the finish, the feel, you can definitely see the quality is there, especially even like from the side. When you load these things on from the side, just aesthetically, it just looks kind of like pure glass. But overall, just really great quality plate. I mean, you're gonna bang these things up a little bit. I mean, of course, these are weight plates. You're gonna probably bump them into something and drop them, so that's for sure gonna nick it. But for right now, I'm definitely babying the heck out of these things. And then when it gets into performance and how this overall feels, I will say that, it's weight, so how much do you really feel? I would say more so when you start loading and picking up, these cheaper weights. One thing is that the diameter is a little bit off. It's not as specific dimensions that you'd find on an Olympic plate. If you guys are serious about doing good serious powerlifting from the exact dimensions and stuff like that, you're gonna want something around these dimensions. Again, you can see, and I'll highlight that Grant paid a lot of attention to detail on these different dimensions from the lip, from grasping and clasping it, picking it up. Also this inner kind of core here, making sure it fits really tightly. That's something you notice right away when I put this in the barbell. It doesn't slide around. It has a nice real snug fit to it. But just as far as doing the reps and feeling, you can see that the weight just feels much more tighter to the bar. You can visually, I think hopefully you can kind of see that. I will be honest, it was a hard decision when it comes down to price. When you see that final price tag at the end of the day, if you were to kind of price match what I did here at the cheapest weights on Amazon, this is granted the prices I was seeing the day of this recording, you're getting roughly almost half the price when you consider that Amazon also does free shipping. You also got free returns too. As they say, guys, you buy once, you cry once. That's what people tell me. So we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day now, if you want to give you kind of my summary and my recommendations on if you should go expensive, high-end plates like this, or you should just go super cheap. When you break it down, I would say consider a couple things. I would say go cheap initially if you're just using it to load up, especially if you're just using it to load up machines. I have a virtual leg press, I got this lever gym. If you're looking at just raw weight, just load stuff, machines up, I would not worry about definitely going with something like this. I wouldn't even bat an eye at that. No, just get the cheapest weight possible. If you're still on the fence about kind of feeling it out, you're not totally committed to doing this, I would go cheap. I think there's a lot of people out there. I know a lot of stories about there, honestly, guys, and I was one of those people. Either I couldn't stick with just staying at home, I wanted to go back to the gym, or there's people that maybe get in it could be a starting strength community, it could be powerlifting, whatever, or it could just be pure garage gym stuff, and they're thinking, I'm gonna go all in, I'm gonna buy all this stuff, and they essentially peter out within less than a year. They don't stick with it, they end up selling it, or it's just not for them, they'd rather do something else. And with that, I would say, go to the gym first, be consistent there, and then maybe buy this stuff. Or yeah, start cheap, see if you guys kind of like it. Definitely don't buy all the weights possible. Don't buy a whole entire home gym setup only to then sell it and just not use it. Now I would say, like you guys have already seen throughout this video, is that I would go super expensive if you're pretty much committed to this is what you're gonna be doing in the home gym for a period of time. I would also consider getting more weight initially too, because that's something, even as I bought this whole set, I'm like, maybe I should have purchased another pair of 45s, because like I said, I like uniformity. Grant and the Strength Co, they've already made a couple different slight variations to this, and even just the factory finish might not always be as consistent in each run. And like I said, the weight plate may change or be updated, although I think this one's pretty right on par with being a great quality item. I'm not sure how much more they can improve this. But yeah, I don't want to get another 45 to be a little bit off. I like to kind of have some uniformity. So if you are pretty consistent and thinking about, yeah, I'm going to invest in something like this, I'm going to do these strength lifts. I really like messing around with the powerlifting exercise or just strength exercises. I would say not only just, yeah, pick go for a higher quality item that's not gonna rust. It can sit in your garage. Essentially, it's kind of worry-free. You can pass it down. Pretty much kind of retains its value, more so than even the cheap weights. But I would also consider buying that initial purchase with all the weights you kind of need up front. So I already have a slight remorse in that I should have dialed it up a little bit more and bought another pair of 45s, but we'll see what happens here. But that is just my 2 cents, guys. Hopefully that helped you guys out, maybe process some things, but maybe it didn't, I don't know. Leave your comments down below if you guys have any recommendations for other people, including myself, on purchasing cheap weights versus expensive weights. Love to hear what you guys to think about it. At the very least, guys, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. I will see you guys on the next video.